Button. Stop record.
Hello everyone on YouTube, it's Jordan here again, and the Mac is back with a vengeance. Yep, it's back. And the reason why it's back, because I'm now using a net cable, which, believe it or not, is better than Wi-Fi. But that's for another video. Today, I'm going to talk about the myths that I know. These are computer myths that I know can ruin your computer. And some of them have ruined this computer. Starting off with myth, well, I probably won't go for 10 of them, but the myths that I know. So, myth number 1, Macs need cleaning software. Simply put, you don't need them. Now, I know there are apps like Clean My Mac X, but you shouldn't really be downloading those. If your computer is slowing down, then downloading a cleaning app is going to make things worse, as you're going to slow the machine down even more by installing software. And your objective is to remove software. If you're remove any potential culprits that are slowing your machine down. So what do? You do the cleanup manually. You don't need an app. And let me tell you this, a lot of the apps that advertise themselves as Mac cleaning apps often don't work and oftentimes contain malware. Which leads to my second spot. Macs don't get viruses. Simply put, it's not true. While there aren't that many viruses targeting the Mac as there are on Windows, they still happen. But I think I know why people are saying that. As of macOS, I believe it's Catalina, macOS Catalina has this thing called Gatekeeper, might have been Mojave as well, where it will scan an app for any malicious content before you open it, and also scan the app for any. Will also verify if the app has been notarized by Apple. So if the app has gained notoriety, then it will let you open it. So that is one way people say that Macs don't get viruses, but they still can get them. I mean, there is a way of bypassing these security methods. So you still have to be careful regardless. And here's the other myth here is the myth that I know definitely ruined this computer. Never shut it down. Once you're done with it, put it to sleep at the end of the day. Now, this is what I believe ruined the hardware. Most specifically, the airport card. Now, yes, the computer will do maintenance tasks while it's sleeping, but oftentimes it can wreck things, so you're best off leaving.
Facebook, what may reply to your comment on a post in Apple support forum?
You're best off not doing it at all. And here's the reason I always shut my computers down once I'm done using them. They're fresh. They've got a fresh session. So when I log in, I'm on a fresh desktop. I've got programs ready for me to open them when I need them. So sleeping, in my opinion, sleep just reduces the life of your computer. And I always shut my machines down for this very purpose. The fact that shutting down a computer can have negative restraints on the hardware is total bunkum, in my opinion. Well, that is true if you say you keep shutting it down and restarting and shutting it down and restarting from no end. But if you're not going to be using it for a while, like for the end of the day, until the next day, then by all means shut the machine down. But if you're going to be away from the machine for, say, a couple of minutes, maybe even an hour, then yes, sleep will work. But I don't recommend putting the machine to sleep at the end of the day, because it just won't work like that. And this is why my Wi-Fi card no longer works on here. The next myth I commonly hear about, and this ain't to do with Mac, this is to do with Linux. And this video is about computer myths. So I hear this all the time. Linux is command line based. It isn't. There is a graphical user interface in Linux. Linux is based on Unix. And when people hear of Linux, they think of Unix, which was entirely command line based. But Linux was designed to be innovative, and there are many graphical desktops to choose from. The next myth I hear about, and you should be happy to know this too, but Windows 10 isn't really collecting all your data all the time. And the simple thing is, when you set Windows 10 up, you can choose what type of data you want sent. So if you send basic, then all the computer's going to do is just send information about the computer to Microsoft, not information about the activity. And this is one of the misconceptions. I mean, obviously you can't turn off all the stuff that it has, but you'll be happy to know that Microsoft doesn't want to use your data for malicious purposes. It doesn't want to use your personal data. It just wants to improve Windows for everyone. And I did do a video of the Windows 10 installation. You might want to check that out. But all that data collection, well, while there is, you can choose what data is sent to Microsoft in the setup experience, but you can't opt out of it. So that's why people think that Windows 10 is spying on users. It actually isn't. As long as you set things up correctly, then you're fine. Here's another common myth that I hear. And this is to do with switching to a Mac. So a lot of times people say, well, if I switch, then I can't use something like I don't know, NVDA or JAWS or any other Windows software that I'm normally used to using. Now, the first two, they're not available on the Mac, but the Mac has a better alternative to those in my opinion. And most popular Windows software already has Mac ports, like Google Chrome, for instance, Firefox, LibreOffice, even Microsoft Office. And a lot of the good stuff can be found in the App Store. And here's another myth about that I've been trying to debunk for a while. And the myth is that I know about, and this is an extremely annoying one, and again, this is to do with Linux, and it's the fact that Linux is not for normal users. That isn't true. There are Linux distros designed for casual users who just want to use their computer for emailing, maybe even browsing the web, having fun on a computer, and that sort of stuff. But Linux is just one of those operating systems that's going to change. In fact, it's changing all the time. I mean, check your repositories now on your distribution. You've probably got a package upgrade waiting there, provided you do the update command. another myth to do with Linux, and people need to stop blindly recommending people who are currently using outdated versions of Windows, like Windows XP, to switch to Linux. Linux won't work on every piece of hardware out there. It is not 100% compatible. When people say, when someone asks, hey, I've got a Windows XP computer, or I've got a unibody MacBook, one of those old style unibody, one of those old unibody MacBooks, and the other person says, just load Linux onto it. No, stop right there. One, this is one way people aren't taking it seriously. They've installed Linux on their machine and it works for them, but they've not considered other computers. Linux, 80% of the time it's going to work, but you're going to have say a piece of hardware that won't work on Linux, like a common graphics card or a Wi-Fi card. Now, AMD graphics cards, in my opinion, aren't well supported on Linux, and especially if you've got a Radeon, it depends on the card, but if you've got a Radeon card like me, then it obviously isn't supported on Linux. So Linux it will run on the computer, but a lot of the time you're going to have hardware problems. And especially with a Mac, Linux may not run on the majority of Mac hardware anyway. And let's not forget secure boot. PC manufacturers are making it hard now to install Linux. And these security measures are in place for a reason: to prevent malicious bootloaders. So those are the tech myths the computer myths that people need to stop believing before it's too late. And if there's any myths that I've missed out on this list, let me know in the comments. And if you like this content, or if you liked what I've discussed today, then consider subscribing for more content. Anyway, this is Jordan signing off, saying have a good day, everyone.
Show cap 13 at 1.01. Stop recording button.